Shri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha Agajanana Padmarkam Gajananam Aharnisham Anekadam Tam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe. Welcome to all for this session on Shri Ganesha Purana, and we reached the chapter 26. Now in the previous chapter, Daksha, who was cursed by his own son Ballala in his previous life, now born with several birth defects, and he was rejected by his own father. And along with his mother, he was wandering from village to village. And at once, because of when he comes in contact with a great Ganesha devotee called sage Mudgala, he was miraculously cured and had a celestial body. And then he was having two wishes. One was to have a unrestricted and ever never ending devotion in Ganesha, which Ganesha himself has granted that it will be given to you. And the second boon he asked, he was about to ask for Gajanana, was to have the prosperity in life. For that purpose, Gajanana made him to meet his devotee sage Mudgala, because of whom Daksha was miraculously cured. Finally, Daksha met sage Mudgala and became his disciple. Sage Mudgala taught him the single syllable Gajanana mantra, and Daksha was reciting this mantra for several days, sitting in an old, dilapidated Ganesha temple. And then one day, a king of that particular city in which the Daksha was living, Kaundinya, in that city, the king Chandrasena, he was died without having the heir to the throne. He was not having any child. So his wife Sulabha is, as well the ministers are worried who will going to take care of the kingdom. At that time, sage Mudgala came to their court and he advised them to give a garland to their royal elephant named Gahana, so that whoever that royal elephant will going to garland them, that person should be selected as the next king, next heir to the throne, so that the city state will be taken care of. So they all now have assembled for that, and Vishwamitra is explaining this story. On a certain day associated with an auspicious plan, and at an auspicious time on that auspicious day, with an auspicious conjunction productive of a good result, anything that we do it at a particular auspicious time is always expected to bring in great results. And the scholars used to find one such auspicious time, auspicious day, based upon several mathematical calculations. And these mathematical calculations are based upon the time. They say a particular day, a particular time, anything that you start will bring auspicious results. But how it brings auspicious result, we do not know. Scientifically, we may not able to prove that. But there are several results in front of us which shows that anything that is started after lot of calculation, and in that lot of calculation they talk about various planets, various types of calculations, various minutes, seconds calculation, and after all that calculation they identify a particular time as the best time, and if something is started on that particular time, it will always yield a good result. So the queen of that city, she placed a garland of jewels on the elephant's trunk, having asked the elephant, "O royal elephant, please choose a king, that one amongst the people of whom you think most highly, whoever is best suited." But how come a elephant would be knowing about who would be the best king? Because it's again another belief based upon psychology. Royal royal elephant is the vehicle of the king all the time. The king used to sit on that royal elephant and used to go for a procession. It is not just about sitting on a vehicle, a dumb vehicle like we have today, and just going around, because elephant or the horse, every king used to have a royal horse and a royal elephant, and king used to be sort of attached to that elephant and the horse psychologically, and it is believed that they could also, all pet animals could able to psychologically associate with their owners, and this royal elephant and the royal horse are like the pet animals for the king. So it is assumed they knew the psychology, they knew what exactly the king was wanting. So they were capable of continuing the lineage of that particular king. So with that assumption, now Queen Sulaba gave the garland to that elephant and asked, choose the right king who will be continuing the heritage of your owner, who was the previous king and her husband. Having taken that garland, the lord of elephants, made crimson by the secretion of fluids, wandered all over the place, as commanded by groups of singers, bards, and brahmins. Perceiving by smell that he was surrounded by various kinds of musicians, mercenaries, and men who sought the kingship. Who doesn't want to have the kingship? Every man around the town, they were all trying to come in front of it with the hope that it might garland them. That elephant went out of the town, the assembly hall, which was filled with populace. After placing their husbands, I mean, lot of women, because usually it is the men who are supposed to lead the country, men who are supposed to become the king. So the women were trying to push their husbands and young boys in the forefront of that elephant. All women assembled in the city for the sake of kingship, as did many kinds of men, many several men, and many leaders of the guilds. But when the elephant went to an inaccessible place, elephant simply ignored all of them and it just keep on walking. So people are trying to come in front of it with the hope that it would garland them. No, it just walked away to an inaccessible place. All of them become utterly disconsolate and simply return back to their own houses, while others still left in the city with hope that one time or the other it might garland them. However, elephant went directly to Kamala's son. Remember, it's the same Kamala's son Daksha, who in the past had a vision that a elephant in a red colored elephant comes and garlands him. Now the similar thing is happening in reality. The elephant went to Kamala's son who was worshipping Gajanana, Miss Gajanana. Seeing only him, the elephant placed the garland on him, while the gods in the sky, in the gods in the sky, and the people were looking at what is happening there. When they realized the feeling of the citizens of the queen and both the ministers, the people then gave clothes, garlands, and ornaments to Daksha. All people are happy. And now Daksha, who was simply sitting there and doing the worship of Gajanana, he need to be well decorated like a king. So they gave him the clothes, garlands, and ornaments. Many sets of instruments, both terrestrial and divine, started playing, and the joyful gods released an auspicious shower of flowers on Daksha. These people were then introduced in due order according to their appropriate status, and they bowed to the new king Daksha and his two ministers. It's a protocol to be followed. When someone is now chosen as a king, everybody in as according to the protocol, they stand in front of him and they introduce themselves to him. The king, now the Daksha had become the king, then gave betel leaf and clothes to the people, and after honoring and giving many gifts to the Brahmins, honoring his mother with such things as ornaments and clothes, he gave presents to the Brahmins in accordance with the precepts. Whenever something new, something special happens in your life, the first thing that we need to do is we need to give gifts. It is not just about giving gifts only to the friends and relatives. According to the tradition, the gift need to be given to the gifts need to be given to the brahmins, who are supposed to be the knowledgeable people who learn the knowledge and utilize it for the sake of society. They first, such people need to be first respected, and then the royal family, whoever the minister, and all those people who are supposed to help the king in future for taking care of the kingdom. Not just that, he also honors his her mother with ornaments and clothes, and then placing her in the palanquin, his mother, putting her in a palanquin, he himself mounted the elephant, putting himself before his two ministers who were mounted on horses. He went to the city adorned with banners and flags, with the roads being moistened. Those were the days when the roads are supposed to be made of mud. So, in order to avoid the dust from rising with the walking elephant, horses, people, everything, to avoid the dust rising of the dust, people used to moist the roads. And it's also an auspicious way of welcoming the new king. The town heralds were eulogizing him, apsaras were dancing before him, and the heavenly musicians who were skilled in the song rushed up and walked before him. Sounds of victory, sounds of adoration, and musical notes went right up to the sky. After they had reached the king's gate, some people went home, but innumerable kings, that means those who are the followers or the subservients, I mean, those who are supposed to be helping the king in all royal matters, all those people entered the assembly hall. Then the very wise king sent the palanquin, the umbrella, the banner, and the chowri, and his minister Sumantu to Mudgala, the sage Mudgala, who originally was responsible for all this thing. And he sent them to bring sage Mudgala. When he saw Mudgala coming, he left his own throne. That's very much essential. The learned people, the Rajagurus, and the scholars, whenever they enter the king's court, the king is supposed to get up from his throne as a mark of respect and should go and worship them. So when he saw Mudgala coming, he left his own throne and bowed to him, his crowned head placed before his feet. He then invited him to sit on his own throne and was himself directed by him onto another seat. So he made sage Mudgala sit on the throne, and Daksha himself sat next to him. When this is also symbolically a representation that whatever country that's given to him, whatever state that was given to Daksha for ruling over, he first offered it to his guru, his master, and then the master tells him, as my representative, you can continue. A similar such kind of a thing had happened in the life of Shivaji, one of the greatest ruler in India. He offered his entire kingdom like a gift. He offered it to his guru, Samartha Ramadasa. But then Samartha Ramadasa, who accepted the gift, he told him, now onwards you rule as a king, but you rule as my representative, because I will be the king of this entire state. You will be my representative. And with that, psychologically, the king will not going to have any kind of a selfish or an arrogance, because he is now a mere representative of his master. So, as a benevolent, as a great disciple of his master, he will rule the king as a part of his duty. What's the psychology sitting behind that? When he was seated with the assemblage of kings, the very wise king Daksha honored the sage and also gave cow to Brahmin who was there. This again, among the gifts, cows are usually the best gifts that were given to the Brahmins, the learned scholars, for the sake of their livelihood. Either they may use the cow or they may give that cow to somebody else to take care of, so that their livelihood, because the Brahmins themselves do not have any source of their own livelihood. Their only job is to seek the knowledge all through their lifetime. Then he said to sage, Daksha said to sage Mudgala, Ah, Mudgala, O great sage, these people now appreciate your great glory. By means of your favor, I have gained a kingdom and beauty in my body. Consider that my previous condition was, and consider a kingdom such as this, O sage. I know that you must certainly be the Vinayaka, O excellent sage. Brahmin, place your lotus like hand on my head again, so that I may partake of all my wishes for a long time. Having given ear to his speech, Mudgala said to Daksha, he will never experience the fear that is caused by an enemy, and you can wish for any wish you want. You will going to have it. Then Daksha gave villages clothes, jewels, wealth, as well as herds of cows and clothes to the sage Mudgala as well other Brahmins. And after they had applauded him with benedictions, Brahmins went to their home. He then gave many villages to the two ministers and the householders and had a very large temple of Ganesha built. The king then dismissed the assembly and entered his house. As the normal procedure that is to be followed, first the learned people, the Brahmins, need to be respected. First, he respected his own guru, sage Mudgala, then the other Brahmins, the learned people, and then the Kshatriyas who are supposed to help him in taking care of the kingdom. He gave gifts to all of them. Now, in the meantime, his father, who abandoned him in the past, Vallabha, King Vallabha, came there after he had heard the news from the people. Then to the great king Daksha, whose name was famous in all the triple world, the world above us called as Swargaloka, and the world, the visible world in which we are living, and the world below us called as Patalalokas. So in all the triple world, he became famous. King Virasena, another king, as commanded by Ganesha in a dream. So Ganesha gave a vision to King Virasena. So he came and gave his own beautiful daughter who had been wanting a husband. His son in her was known as Bhanu. His son was Subhala. Padmakara was his son, and Vapurdipta was his son. Chitrasena was his son, and you came from Chitrasena. So now sage Vishwamitra is telling the lineage of King Bhima, who was in, if you remember the previous chapters, he has a tradition of worshipping Ganesha, but somehow he forgot and he missed worshipping Ganesha, and because of that reason, King Bhima and his wife, they were not having any children. So they came to Vishwamitra begging him a blessing to have the children. And then Vishwamitra told them that in your lineage, you were supposed to take care of, you were supposed to do the worship of Ganesha. But why? So he started from Daksha, and Daksha was married, and his son was Brahadbhanu, whose son was Subhala, whose son was Subhala, and Padmakara was son of Subhala, and Vapurdipta was son of Padmakara, and Chitrasena was son of that Vapurdipta, and this king Bhima was actually the son of Chitrasena. That's how in the lineage the Ganesha worship continued in the lineage of that king Daksha. You remember, originally it was Vyasa who was hearing this story from the Lord Brahma himself. After he had heard the complete succession of lineage from Vishwamitra's mouth and had satisfied and approached the sage again, he questioned to that great bull of the Brahmins, amidst the great among the Brahmins. So that King Bhima asked sage Vishwamitra, when will Vinayaka be pleased with me, O great sage, O Lord? Tell me the way for me to obtain the favor of Gajanana. When and after having seen Gajanana, I will accomplish what must be done. So, in Indian culture, it has become a tradition that always in the lineage they used to consider a particular deity as their family deity, and they were always doing the worship of that particular deity, even used to build large temples, take care of the temple. Why is it so? Scientifically, if you look at, temples are a place which will be where people can experience the great energy of the god, where they can meditate, where they can ensure that their faith will remain unbroken and they will continue. And there are several millions and billions of temples all over the state, all over the country of India. And who can take care of it? We cannot expect the government to take care of all those temples. It is impossible. The government has several great things that they need to do. So they made it as a tradition that a set of families are always associated with a particular temple or a particular deity. So they used to call that deity as their family deity. And all those families, whatever riches they will going to get, they used to devote it, they used to dedicate it for that particular temple, and they were taking care of all the requirements of that particular temple. That is how every few families, wherever they are, even if they are not in that country, even if they went to some other country, still they used to come back to their native town where that temple would be situated, and they used to take care of the temple. And this is how the temples were maintained over several hundreds and thousands of years without expecting any support from the ruling government or the ruling kings or the monarchs. It is the people, it's a self sustaining way of taking care of the temple, because a few families were always associated with the temple. Thus ends the 26th chapter of Upasana Khanda of the glorious Ganesha Purana, in which we heard the lineage starting from Daksha to King Bhima. And in that lineage, they were doing the worship of Gajanana. Namaste Sharada Devi, Kashmira Puravasini, Twamaham Prarthaye Nityam, Vidya Danancha Dehime. Goodbye.